Well, praise God. Welcome to the Lead Up on the Line. I'm recording this in the wee hours of the morning, so forgive me. But since it's in the wee hours of the morning, I think I can spend a lot more time on this and have a lot more fun, especially since there ain't no phone calls coming in this late at night. Praise the Lord. Now, of course, I got to get all psyched up for sacrament tomorrow afternoon, so here we go. Matthew chapter 14 and 15, and we're going to be, we're going to go ahead and cover the whole things, because the way I see it, we got plenty of time. Matthew chapter 14, verse 1. At that time, Herod, the Tetrarch, heard of the fame of Jesus. Now let's see what the Messianic Bible calls him, if I can find that particular. I actually heard it pronounced Tetrarch, but yeah, that's what he is, Herod the Tetrarch. And said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put him in prison, for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he had desired to kill him, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. Now, this is the best part, okay? 6 and 7. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Oh, so Herod's birthday makes you kind of wonder. Whereupon he promised with an oath. I'm going to say, wherefore he promised with a vow to give her whatsoever she would ask. Okay, what's this? And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. Now, the Greek says platter, thank goodness, because I was thinking, when I first read the Bible at age 12, 13, 14, that charger was like a little round cylinder-like container you just put his head in. I mean, you gotta think, I'm a kid. It was the 1980s. And chargers, I think, were pretty dang humongous back then. Verse 9. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for his oath's sake. Nevertheless, for his vow's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it be given him, and he sent and beheaded John in the prison. Now, I gotta say, that's the first exercise of tyranny I see openly in Jesus' earthly ministry. Okay? We're gonna do 11, 12, and 13, and then 15, 16. And his head was brought in a platter and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it and went and told Jesus. You gotta know that this devastates Jesus, John's disciples. It devastates. It devastates Jesus' family. Now I'm assuming that around that time Elizabeth is gone. Some traditions say that she is still alive. I mean, but come on, she was well stricken in years, and I don't know that much about life expectancy in ancient times, but I'm just suspecting that Elizabeth died sometime in John's adulthood, both his parents. When Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And so, as you know, in verse 14 it says he has compassion toward them. And he healed their sick. Now, verse 15 through 17, this is from Colonel's here. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals." Meaning, victuals means food. Now, I gotta say, when I heard of victuals, I was thinking about all those times during the summers when I went to East Texas. And I would hear some of my family around there and say, why don't y'all get y'all some victuals? And I knew that was food. But Jesus said in verse 16, he says, "But Jesus said unto them, they need not depart. Give ye them to eat." Okay, watch this. And they said unto him, "We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fish." And they're kind of like, how's this going to be among so many people? In verse 18, Jesus says, "Bring them to me." And so he commanded the multitude to sit down in the grass. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looked up to heaven. He blessed and brake. And gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. See, this is a type of something that happened in the Book of Mormon in 3rd Nephi chapter 18, where Jesus institutes the sacrament to the Americans. It's the same pattern, same organization. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. See, that tells me that there was abundance there. Some people say, well, Jesus just had everybody share. No, I mean, anybody that knows that he's God knows. Now, of course, he said after they eat, he sends the multitude away, and then he sends his disciples into ships so they can go pray. Verse 23, and when he had sent the multitude away, he went into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. And so in verse 24 it says that the ship's tossed by the waves. I can't imagine how frightened the 12 apostles must have been. Now verse 25. So around 6:30, verse 25, between 3 and 6 in the morning, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. Verse 26. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a spirit." And they cried out for fear. But, okay, now this is what I love here, what Jesus said. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid." And that tells you something. Okay, so as you know, 28 through 30, it's obvious Peter is hoping the Lord asks him to come, and so Peter's walking on the water, but he sees the wind and the waves, and he took his eyes off the Lord. He asked the Lord, "Save me." Okay, we're going to do verses 31 through 33. All right. And immediately, Jesus stretched forth his hand, and caught him, and said, "O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" And once they come into the wind, the wind ceased. But I can imagine, Jesus, he's feeling disappointed. He'd hoped that Peter would have had more mightier faith. Of course, it takes Peter to go through a lot of adversity to develop such a strong faith. Verse 33. Then they were in the ship, came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So they're in the land, Gennesaret. And so, once he's in the land around Lake Gennesaret, the people are sending the people that are sick to be healed. And they were desiring that they might touch the hem of his garment. Now, I didn't know exactly what that meant. I've heard about the woman with the issue of blood. But really back in those days, in Jewish men, the garments represented covenant. And showing you that there's healing through the covenant relationship with Jesus Christ. So, verse 15, chapter 15. He's taking some more Pharisees, and he heals daughters of a Gentile woman, and he feeds 4,000. Okay, this is lovely. Verse 1. Let me look at how many verses it is. Yeah, we got this. No problem. Okay, verse 1. Then came to Jesus. Okay, I'm saying Mark, verse 1. Then came to Jesus scribes. Now, what was a scribe, really? A scribe was someone who was right at the time, was writing the scriptures and laws of Moses for the Pharisees. The scribes and Pharisees, which were at Jerusalem, saying, "Why do thy disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread." I want you to think about this. The tradition of the elders, it wasn't just the usual washing of hands. It was a ceremonial washing of hands. Okay, ceremonial. So it's kind of like, these scribes and Pharisees. They're kind of like, what's wrong with you guys? You're breaking the tradition. You're not washing your hands ceremonially you're supposed to. Why can't you be more like us? Okay, verse 3. But he answered and said, "Why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition?" Ooh. And he's condemning, the tradition of men. For God commanded, saying, "Honor thy father and thy mother. And he that curseth his father and mother, let him die the death." Which, in Greek, that means he shall surely die. But ye say, verse 5, but ye say, whosoever shall say to his father and his mother, it is a gift. But whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me. In other words, he's saying, he says to his parents, well, I can't help y'all because I'm just giving a gift to God. I'm just doing what's good for me. And how many adult kids do that to their parents nowadays? Verse 6, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Verse 7, I'm marking verse 7. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah, meaning Isaiah, prophesy of you, saying, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Verse 9. But in vain they do worship me, teachings for doctrines, the commandments of men. Now, I gotta say, we're gonna camp out just a little bit, okay? He's kind of like, he's quoting some things that Jeremiah and they're saying, hey, the prophets are predicting exactly what you guys said, Basically, the heart is, he's telling these scribes and Pharisees, hey, you guys are in apostasy. Verse 10. And he called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand. Verse 11. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. In other words, the Lord's like, hey, watch what you say. Then came his disciples and said unto him, knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying. And the disciples like, well, why'd you do that? You just offended them. But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. So it's kind of like, it goes back to what I'm going to be studying on later on this month, towards my birthday, about the vineyard of the Lord. He knows which ones are righteous and which ones are not. Verse 14. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And what that means is, the government leadership is in spiritual blindness. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. And it's funny. I'm laughing here because I remember growing up, I was reading that, and I guess my brother must have heard it. And then when I was in college, bringing some of my friends home that are blind, he's like, here we go, blind leading the blind. Be careful. Yeah, I'm all falling into the ditch. But what Jesus is talking about is spiritual blindness and apostasy. Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. And Jesus is like, what the heck's going on? I thought you'd understand. And verse 17 says, do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast into the draught? Okay, I don't understand that totally what it means. So, let me see if I can find that modern translation I have. To try to understand that. Okay. I believe it's verse 18. I'm sorry to get bogged down in this, but there's times when I don't know. And then out of the body. Okay. There we go. Verse 18. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile a man. Okay, verse 19. For out of the heart proceedeth evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemy. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. Now, what that means, what Jesus is not saying, don't eat with, unwashed hands, but he's saying, hey, not ceremonially washing your hands doesn't defile a man. Okay, now watch, verse 21. Then Jesus went, therefore, and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. Okay, and of course he runs into, a Canaanite woman. It came to the coast, and said, hey, look, have mercy on me, my daughter is grieved, vexed with the devil. And verse 3, Jesus says in words saying, when Jesus wouldn't say anything, and his disciples came and said, hey, why don't you just send her away, because she's following us. But so he answered and said, look, verse 24, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That was his first call. was to be a messenger of the covenant in the gathering of Israel, okay? And of course, verse 30, it says, "It is not made to take that which is holy and cast into the dogs." And really what that means is, in that ancient culture, the dogs were not domesticated, okay? And he was kind of saying that in a way that was kind of, but she says this in verse 27. I love this. Verse 27. And she saith, "Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table." Alright. Verse 28. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, "O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee, even as thou wilt." And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Okay, verse 29. And Jesus departed from thence, and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain, and sat down there. Okay, and so multitudes are following him again, and he's having compassion on them, And verse 31 says, "Insomuch that the multitudes wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see. And they glorified the God of Israel." Verse 32. And this is beautiful stuff right here. "Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days, and have nothing to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint by the way." And his disciples say unto him, "When should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill so great a multitude?" And so verse 34, "And Jesus saith unto them, How many loaves have ye? And they said unto him, 7, and a few little fishes." And so he's commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and the fish, and gave thanks and brake it. And then verse 37 says this, "And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full." Okay, verse 38. "And they that did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude, and took ship, and came into the coast of Magdala." So there we go. That wasn't as painful, and I hope this helps you guys. I hope that all this teaching gives you rich blessings. I really do, and I hope, because see, this is teachings and miracles that are just wonderful, so wonderful, and I hope it blesses you and it touches you down to your very soul, okay? Now, you guys, be sure to take care of yourself and y'all have a blessed Sabbath. Now, with that, I hope you enjoy watching Leah Home of Light. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, become a part of the Leah Home of Light family. This is Jimi Hendrix saying until next time, remember who you are, read your scriptures, and please preach the gospel. God bless.